What is going on, YouTube? It is Primitive here, and today I'm be bringing you an old deck kind of brought back to life, hopefully. Now, Agumon was a deck that was decently relevant in BT6 and a little bit in BT7, but I think it was a deck that was potentially very strong in these sit and raising metagames because of how aggressive you can get early and the strength of the end game bond into hybrid package. So I never really took it into tournaments and I never really saw people mess with it, but it was still always in the back of my head that this was a deck that could do decently well in this metagame, so I have been messing around with it. And since I think BT10 is going to be very similar to the BT9 metagame, I wanted to go ahead and get this list out there. Hopefully it inspires some people to pick it up. Hopefully this deck can get refined a little bit more and hopefully get some tournament performances results here in BT10, but I do have this as the base list to bring to you all here, and as always we're going to go ahead and break it down one by one. Alright, so to start off, we of course have the Digitama, and we are just going for draw Digitama here. So for Coromon, when you attack and you have Omnimon or Greymon in your name, then you get to draw a card. So very simple, I just want to be drawing cards when I attack. And then Gurimon, if this Digimon has 6,000 or more DP, draw one. And because of how many DP boosts we're going to be having from our rookies, you usually are going to be hitting that 6k threshold. And so really like Gurimon and Coromon, I just want to draw. You could play plus DP Digitama as well to kind of buff up your promo Greymon, so when you swing in for a bunch of checks, but I still think the draw is a lot better. The consistency of the deck is going to be a lot more. You're going to be kind of cycling through a lot of your rookies in your raising anyway, and so you just kind of want to be cycling out. If you go down in security, it is a little bit of a bummer, but usually having that 1k buff isn't always the defining factor, so I just rather have the consistency of the draw. Now, getting on into the rookies, we are starting off with one Agumon Expert. Now, this is a card that I think was a lot more useful back in the day when you're kind of more focused on the Agumon itself as your main kind of win con, but in this deck, the Agumon is kind of the side package. You get so much damage done with just the Greymons itself that the Agumon Expert is just kind of nice to where if you don't have an Agumon in hand, but you have one in trash, you can go ahead and play this to add it back, or you can just play this just to get back maybe like a BT6 Agumon, so that way you can put it in raising next turn or something like that, but I just like it at one. It's not anything too crazy. Next up, we're going to be having two of the 2-drop Agumon. I just like this because it is a 2-drop that says Agumon. It doesn't have any effects or inheritables or anything, so it doesn't really directly help the game plan, so I don't really want to go too all in on it, but having a 2-drop Agumon just really helps with your mana expenditure. Like if you have 2 memory left and your opponent's going to go to 3 with a memory tamer, you can play this for 2, go to 0, and then play something for 3 to fill out that memory. Maybe you're at 1 and you can choke your opponent at 1 with the Agumon, and just a 4k rookie is a pretty good DP threshold, and the fact that I said Agumon, it just helps a lot. I don't really want to go too in on this one because there's better Agumons, but still really like this one, so I just kept it at 2. Next up, we're going to be having the 4 BT6 Agumon. This one is just going to be very standard. You want that extra security attack when you're swinging in with the Agumon, and so we want to be playing this, but also the all turns when a tie is played, you get to gain a memory, so it's very nice because if this is on your field during your opponent's turn, they swing into tie and security comes out, you get to gain that memory, or you might have one of these on board and then you can play tie for 2, which might help you, again, like with the 2-drop Agumon, maybe it chokes your opponent to 1, maybe it helps you expend your turns a little bit more, so you could cut this one down to 3 if you wanted to and go up into another Agumon, just because you aren't always going into bond, so you don't really need the inheritable, but I just don't think the other Agumons are that much better than this one because it gives you a good inheritable and it gives you a way to gain memory. Then we're playing one Agu X Antibody. Now, I just play this at 1 because it's basically just a 0-cost search for a Greymon. That's really all we're looking for here. I didn't want to go too all in on it because you can't search out things with Agumon in their name, so I didn't want to bottom deck too much, and also this card isn't really too crazy in itself, but I do like the ability to just kind of Digivolve for 0 on top of one of your Agumon, and then be able to search out a Greymon, and if you Digivolve this over regular Agumon, you'll still get your Greymon promo Greymon effect because you'll still have an Agumon in the source, so this is just a nice little free searcher. And then to finish off the rookies, we're going to be having our 2 DP boosting Agumon. So we have the promo Agumon, well, you have Greymon in your name, plus 2k DP, and then when this attacks a player, you get plus 2k DP, so just going to be buffing us up to bigger amounts. It's going to help buff up this Gurimon that we have here, but mostly just going to be working here to make our Agumon and our Greymons bigger. Now, getting on into the champions, we are going to start off with the BT5 Greymon. We're playing 3 of it, and I just like this card because it's 1 to Digivolve on your Agumons, and so if you have the Agumons that give you a plus 2k DP boost, you can Digivolve for 1 and then be able to swing in at 7k for a 1 to Digivolve, so it is just very nice. It's obviously not super crazy, and we're not going to get anything out of its inheritable, but just being able to get up to the champion for 1, get those DP boosts, get the draw in with your Koromons and stuff like that is just very nice. So I really like how this card really just kind of helps the game flow go a little bit better in the early game if you don't have a bunch of memory. Next up, we got 3 Burning Greymon, and I do know that this card is not going to count as a Greymon because of translation and stuff like that, but that is not the main reason we are playing it. The main reason we are playing it is, 1, is because it's a hybrid, so we want to be able to hybrid for game, but also it Digivolves for 1 on top of level 4s, so I have found times where being able just to get the Digivolve for 1 over something like maybe one of these Greymons or one of your Geo Greymons, just to get the cycle or even just give it a little bit of a DP boost, it does help a lot. And then also if you can stack the Burnings on top of each other, then you can get its effect to be able to delete a 4k or less DP, which doesn't happen too often, but it can come up to be able to pop things like maybe Floodgates. Maybe they have a Madoki out and you want to go ahead and pop your memory boost or something like that. You can use that effect, but for the most part, this is just the hybrid. I just chose this over Aguni because you don't want to be Digivolving this over your rookies anyway, so the 3 to Digivolve cost doesn't matter. And this gives us the ability to Digivolve over level 4s for cycle and get that pop, so just liked it a little bit more than our other hybrid options. Next, we got the key card himself, my favorite, one of my favorite cards in all of Digimon, which is going to be Promo Greymon. While you have an Agumon in your Digivolution cards, you gain Security Attack +1 as a champion. So this is just, I just love this card. You're going to be able to Digivolve up on top of one of your DP boosting Agumons, be able to swing for 2 checks. We are playing Lightning Joust, so you could potentially go for even more, but just the amount of aggression you can get super early from this Greymon is very nice, and this is what I like about it, because if you can swing in with this on like your first promote and then be able to get 2-3 checks in and your opponent can't clear it and it stays on board and you're able to swing in again next turn, it literally just ends games. And some decks can't do stuff in the first couple turns. Maybe they miss a rookie and they have to play a tamer. Well, if they can't get a Digimon out and they don't have removal, then this is going to be sitting on the board and they're just going to have to hope that it goes down in security, which isn't always going to happen, especially against a lot of these decks like Melga and Alphamon. You can swing into a lot of things that are sitting at less than 7-8k DP, and so that's going to make it so you can survive with this Greymon and pretty much just go for 2-3 turn kills. Doesn't always happen, but this is kind of your main engine. It's so cheap to be able to get into it and get the checks in early that you just kind of set yourself up to slowly be able to go in for chip and then hybrid for game. And to be finishing off with the champions, we are going to be going with 4 Geo Greymon here. This card, mostly just because it's a security Digimon, you are going to be able to get to play this when it comes out of security, which means you're going to be able to get another body on board to be able to go in for more swings. So just ultimate aggression, and it has a really good on-play of being able to delete something with 4k DP or less. So even if you don't have this in security, maybe you on-play this, maybe you're at 3 with your memory tame, your opponent's going to go to 3 anyway, you don't have the greatest play or you want to delete something on the board, you can just play down Geo Greymon, it helps. But when this card comes out of security, it is very board swinging because you're so aggressive with this Agumon deck that your opponent kind of has to mitigate the board as much as possible and control as much damage as they can. And so when this comes out and they can't really deal for it because they're kind of going in for their swings and then they're going to play a card to pass turn, if it's not removal or a blocker, you get that extra swing in. So Geo Grey has definitely been coming up. And to finish off the Digimon, of course, we are going to be playing Bond of Bravery, playing it at 3 just because I pretty much play 3 Bond in every Bond deck, both Bond of Bravery and Agumon or Gabumon, just because you don't really need 4. It's going to clunk up a lot. Sometimes it's nice in security, but you don't want to be clunking it in your hand. And especially in this list, you could even technically go down to 2 because the deck isn't really focused around Bond of Bravery as much as it's just kind of your finisher. And you're mostly focusing on just your rookie rush, champion rush style gameplay. But the Agumon is really nice, being able to swing, pop something with 13k or less, be able to trash the top security, and then get the security check. And then if you have the Agumon, you're getting an extra security check. So this card is just really good at ending games. It's just you don't focus around it as much as you do in like Gabumon. So you could cut this down to 2 if you wanted to, you know, make an extra slot in the deck, but I like it at 3 just for consistency so you can see it when you need it. Now it's time for the options. So starting off, we're going to play 1 Gravity Crush. Gravity Crush is just a kind of game ender going to hybrid, or if early game you really need to try to find something or try to get something going, you don't have the memory, maybe you don't have your Marcus or your ties out, Gravity Crush helps you a lot, but mostly it's there for game ender, kind of going for Bond, clear out security, go to Gravity Crush, go to 2, play out a hybrid, play out the burning on top of one of your ties, go in for game. That's kind of the main game plan. We are playing memory boost as well, and we also have ways to gain memory from like tie and Nokia in a way. So this, I just decided to play it as 1. You don't really need to play more. It can sometimes be a dead card, but it can really just make it, it's the only card that can do what this does. You can't, no other card's going to make it so you can make better and crazier plays like this card is going to, because you just don't have any raw just gain memory. So I just wanted to play it at 1 because it does really help with a deck like this. It really just helps the consistency and the flow of the deck. Next up, we got 3 Crimson Blaze. I feel like this is just very standard into this metagame right now. Crimson Blaze does so good in so many decks. Bloom Lord, Jessmon, even Crossheart, Security Control. Anything that's playing Digimon by effects goes really hard. If you're playing against D-Brigade and they're going very wide, being able to delete for cheap, it's just, this card is super insane. There's no reason not to play it. So I'm just playing it at 3 because it's super good. You don't have to worry about floodgates as much with this deck, but I just like this as a kind of counter card. It's both a really good defensive card, but also you can just play this against decks that want to be playing Digimon by effects, just to basically shut them down for a turn and give you that extra turn where they're not going to be doing as much. But yeah, this card is just overall very, very strong. The only reason I'm playing 3 Crimson Blaze though is because I am also playing 1 Gaia Force Zero. I just wanted some sort of top end removal. I think this could just be straight Gaia Force if you didn't want to go with Gaia Force Zero, but I did like the Gaia Force Zero because it kind of allows you to be able to delete something and then get a swing in. Now that doesn't always come up all the time, and the more I use this card, the more I kind of realize that it doesn't really matter as much because you're usually going to be swinging first and then playing this card. But if your opponent has a blocker or something in the way, then this card does help being able to pop it and then get the swing in. So there's ups and downs to Gaia Force Zero and Gaia Force. I really am not 100% on either one right now, but as of right now I have been leaning towards Gaia Force Zero just because I do like the ability to potentially get through annoying blockers. 2 red memory boost because we want to be searching out our Greymons and we want to be gaining memories. Just really good consistency card. Helps you extend your plays a little bit more, and really we just want to be trying to find that promo Greymon as early as possible and trying to play like 2 to 3 of them per game if we have to. So just being able to find this is very nice. Can also help you find your bond or just really anything you want, but I just want that memory gain, that search, red memory boost, or just all the memory boosts are such good consistency cards. And then to finish off, oh baby, Lightning Joust. Now if you know me, you know I love me Lightning Joust. Lightning Joust goes insane. So if you have less than or equal to your opponent's security, then you get security tech +1 on top of getting +2k DP for the turn. Now you would be thinking, well, aren't you always going to be ahead in security because you're playing an aggressive deck and you're going to be going in? Well, yes and no. It says less than or equal to. So let's say if you were to first turn promote up your Greymon, you could go ahead and give it 1 or 2 Lightning Jousts. You and your opponent are both going to be at 5 security, so you can go ahead and swing for those extra couple checks, be able to go in. But also, Bond of Bravery, when you go up with the tie here, tie does make it so you need to trash your top 2 security cards to be able to go up into Bond of Bravery. So when you're trashing 2 of your own security, there's a good chance you end up with less than or equal to your opponent's security, giving you that extra checks, and it makes it so Bond, if you Lightning Joust a Bond when you have the Gabumon inheritable in there, you're trashing 1 and then you're swinging 3 checks, so you're getting 4 through. And so it just, like I said, you play Joust with Bond and then you go Gravity Crush into Hybrid, you can just win so easily. So Lightning Joust is usually a lot better either in the early game or the very early game or the very late game, and then in the middle it's kind of meh, but it's still just, Lightning Joust is just so good in this deck that I still had to play it. Playing it at 3, you could consider going down to 2 if you want to, just to make an extra slot in, because it's not necessary. This is definitely personal preference of just how much I love Lightning Joust, but you can definitely cut it down to 2. Now onto the Tamers. It's going to be fairly standard. We're going to be having 2 Marcus because we need a Memory Tamer. Memory Tamers are very good, but also when you attack with a Greymon, you can suspend Marcus to gain a memory, so another way to just really extend your turns and go in. You do got to be careful though, because there are times where I have suspended this to gain the memory, only to later realize that I needed it unsuspended to go for game with Hybrid. So got to be careful of that, but yeah, Marcus, very standard in a deck like this. Then we got 4 BT6 tie, of course, because we are playing Agumon. This gives us memory gain. Draw gives us the ability to go to our Bond. I mean, Ty and Matt from BT6 are some of my favorite Tamers, and I guess Yuji for the Alphamon. Being able to promote and gain 1, draw 1 is just very nice. It makes it very interesting in times where you can just sit in raising for a turn or two just to get extra value, promote at the right time to where you have the correct amount of memory to go for the plays that you need to go to. But yeah, Tai is just very strong, so of course we're playing it at 4. And then to finish off the list, we are just playing 1 Nokia. I do like Nokia being able to just play out an Agumon, but the main thing is if you get this card out early, you are able to just gain so much memory out of it. Essentially, you get to reduce the memory cost of Digivolution by 1 when you go into a Greymon, but when you're doing that 2, 3, 4, 5 turns in a game, you just get so much value out of this card that it's insane. However, if you play this card mid to late game, it feels borderline useless a lot of the times. Like, it can be nice, but this is a much more like early to mid game card, and then mid to late game it's kind of meh, which is why we're only playing it at 1, even though I give it such high praise in this deck. It's a card that's pretty good in the early game, not so great in the late game, but hey, you know, you can get some pretty good value out of this, and it's a really cool security check as well, because being able to have this come out and then play out a Digimon from it is kind of like Geo Greymon. Again, how I said your opponent needs to kind of maintain the board, and being able to get free Digimon out from security does help a lot. So going in with just 1 Nokia here. But that is going to be the list. Let me know down below what you think about the list, what you would like, what you would change. But I do, like I said, hope that this inspires some people to play Agumon a little bit more, because this is a deck that I do think needs a little bit more love. I think it's definitely something people gave up on after BT6, BT7, and it's a deck that could definitely still come around, especially in metagame right now where you're giving decks times to set up a little bit. A deck like this can get 3, 4, 5 checks in very quickly in the first couple turns, while also being able to have some pretty decent defensive tactics. So with that being said, if you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe, because I'll be bringing you even more BT10 content. But I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will catch you next time. Peace out, everyone.